Hey, it's Justine Marjan. My Instagram's at Justine Marjan, and I'm gonna show you how to create a fun summer updo using Great Lengths hair extensions. Let's get into it. So Taylor actually has about a bob length hair, and we prepped her hair adding some extensions already, but I'm gonna show you what I did. So you can see in the back, this is about the length of her natural hair. We did already add some extensions, so you can see I did a combination of Great Lengths tapes and keratin bonds. So we did 2 layers of keratin bonds around the perimeter so that she has the flexibility to pull her hair up and conceal all of the bonds. And then because her hair is very dense in the back, we did a few layers of tapes so that we were able to get more coverage and really blend the bluntness of her bob. So through the internal back of her head, we did do tapes because she had such a blunt bob, and it really gave us a lot more coverage to blend the blunt layers. She also is an ideal candidate for color correction, as she had a lot of interesting things happening with her color in the back. So we really used the Great Lengths extensions to blend her color and give her a color refresh without a chemical process. So we have 2 different colors of tapes, and then we used 3 different colors of keratin bonds. So actually one of my favorite ways to use extensions is to add color or to change someone's hair color without a chemical service. So that's why she was an ideal candidate for this, as she had a color correction in the back. She really wanted to be a brighter blonde, but because there was that damage from the color before, we didn't want to do a chemical process. So instead, we added extensions, which really brightened up her color and gave her that refresh without a chemical service. So I love extensions to add highlights in the hair, to add lowlights, to blend uneven, previous color, or you can add them for length, fullness, and volume. So now we just have a little bit more of the extension application to finish in the back. So I'm going to show you exactly how I did the tapes and the keratin bonds. So these are the Great Lengths tape in extensions, and this is color 85, which is a beautiful honey looking blonde. Like I said, I did use 2 colors throughout the interior, but as her color changed towards the top, I'm just going to use 1 color. So this is where, if you're a stylist, you really have to use your creative freedom to blend the colors and make sure that it's a custom experience for your client. So these do come in packaging that actually has a label on the front that tells you exactly where the hair came from. Great Lengths extensions are ethically sourced, so you can track where every pack of hair comes from, which is incredible. I took these out of the packaging, and we did wash these and prep it for the application before we put them in. And then I'm just using the extension application tool, and I'm just going to gently peel off the tape so that my fingers don't touch the adhesive. And then I make sure my section is really clean, and I just apply about a 1/4 inch off of the roots. I use the back of the tool to just gently press that into her hair. So now I'm just picking up the tapes and catching the hair that the tapes naturally cling to, and then I'll pin that upwards and then apply my tape backing. So one of the things I love about Great Lengths extensions is that the hair is actually double drawn, so the density is even from the roots through the ends. I know sometimes people might be used to sandwiching the hair between tape and extensions, but this is so nice because you actually don't have to sandwich the hair between it, so essentially you're getting more bang for your buck with the extensions. Great Lengths tape and extensions are actually made with a medical grade adhesive, so it clings to the hair without causing damage. I also love the tapes because they're really thin and flat to the scalp. It's about the thickness or thinner than a credit card. So on the row above the tapes that I just applied, we are actually going to start doing bonds as it's getting closer to the top of her head, just so she still has a little bit more flexibility with her styling. So with the bonds, you want to take a small section that's a perfect square, about the size of the bond that you will be using. And then I always keep this line right where my parting is, and then I want to apply the extension right around where the second line is. We cut these bonds in half so they're a little bit smaller than the full size bond as it's getting closer to the top of her head, just so that it blends in a little bit more seamlessly. But usually I use the full size bonds through the interior of the head if I'm doing a full head application. One of the things that is most fun about applying extensions is really customizing the color to your client. So we are alternating 3 different colors of bonds, and that really gives us a natural blend with the shades of blonde that she has in her hair. I would say for most of my clients, I use between 3 to 4 different shades of colors on their hair to really get that soft, natural looking dimension. We did have a 4th color in the bonds, but we're not using it in the back, but we did use it around the front so that we had a few brighter pieces that frame the face. I love really changing someone's color with Great Lengths extensions because you get results that don't damage the hair and you don't have to stain any of your clothes. So that's about as high up as I would go with my extension application for this look with her hair density, especially because she does have a little bit of a cowlick at the top, and I want to make sure if it splits that we're not revealing any of the extensions. So I think that looks pretty good. And then I'll go in with my shears and go ahead and cut through the ends to blend her layers. So when cutting extensions, I like to use a wide tooth cutting comb and a razor with a new blade for a really soft, effortless finish, especially because the Great Lengths extensions are really thick towards the ends. I want to really soften that and blend those layers. She was already previously cut for the extensions that I had put in prior, so I'm just going to blend the ones that I already added. And cutting extensions is completely different from how you would cut natural hair, so you really would use completely different techniques. So this feels really soft and blended to me, which I love, and then I'll show you the front as well. She actually did have a lot of really short layers in the front and breakage, so we did add a few of micro mini extensions to the front hairline to give that really soft face framing, almost curtain bang effect. So you can see those micro mini extensions, and these are actually cut into thirds, so they're smaller than the halves that we used in the back of the head. And because they're so small, I'm able to put them around the front hairline without them being detected. I always keep in mind the placement of extensions of how my client's gonna be wearing their hair often. So because she wanted a lot of face framing, I really concentrated those extensions right around the face and then left some space behind them so that she could still pull her hair up with leaving those pieces without detecting the extensions, as you can see. The key part of this updo is having a lot of texture on the top, so I always start by curling the ends of the hair. And I always want a lot of hold so that I can brush through and work through the hair, so I'm gonna spray each section with hairspray before I curl it. So I want to curl from the ends upwards, so I bring my iron down and then I keep the focus on the ends as I curl up the length of the hair. And this is not how I would ever style any other look, but this is how I get those really bouncy ends for this updo. And I always, when I'm curling, I always tap or keep a hand on the hair so that I can tell when the hair is heated through all the way. So once it feels warm to the touch all the way through, that's when I know when to release the hair. Now that we have this really ugly curl, we are going to spray a dry texture spray throughout so that there is a lot of hold and texture as we're pulling the hair up. When I'm doing an updo, especially one that I want to see a lot of texture, I make sure to put a lot of the texture spray at the root so I have a lot of support for my bobby pins and the style. From here, I don't want to brush through too much because I still want to see a lot of texture in the style, but I'm just using it a little bit. And then you'll section out where you want the front of the hair to frame the face that we will leave out of our style. So we're probably going to leave out. So when I leave out a section around the front, I want to take a diagonal section forward and pin that away to frame the face. And then I'm just gonna put a little pin there so it stays out of the way while I'm working. So this is the section I took in the front that we sectioned away. And then now I can start working on the rest of the hair. I am going to brush the ends out a little bit more. And I'm going to just back brush them lightly too, so I have a lot of volume through the ends. Okay, so then from here, I'll use a little bit of a pomade on my fingertips so that there's a little bit of control or hold while I'm working. So I have a small amount of pomade here, and I just work it through my hands And then I'll gather all of the hair back at the nape of the neck. And this is where, as a stylist, you'll want to use your mirror as a guide and make sure everything's like flattering from the sides. So use your mirror and make sure that everything is framing your client's face the way you want it to, and that it looks good from all angles. This is really important, especially if your clients are going to an event where they're gonna be photographed, so that the hair looks good from every angle. So then from here, I'm just twisting the hair, and then I'm gonna pull it up, and then I just shape it with my fingertips how I want to see it around the front. So we're going for disheveled a little bit, so nothing has to be perfect. And then we can refine it afterwards when we're done too. And then you wanna look in the front and make sure it looks good from the front as well. And I kind of just visually shape the hair with my hands. Okay, so from here, I just hold the hair how I want to see it, and then I'm gonna start inserting pins to support it. I'll use French pins a lot because then I can really control the look without it pulling too much on the style. Cute, so now we have our French twist in the back, and then we can always refine it with our fingertips. And then in the front, we kind of can place this hair how we want to see it. And then I'll just put in a few more pins to support the style. And I like to go back in and kind of like define some of these curls that I created. If I'm using a regular bobby pin, you never want to open the bobby pin when you're using it, and you always want the ridged side to go against the scalp. So I'll place it in, if I'm putting it in an updo, for example, I'll turn it so that the ridge side is towards the scalp, and then you just only catch the hair that it naturally catches onto without opening it, and then you slide it in. And that's how you make sure your bobby pins don't fall out of a style. And then I'll spray hairspray as I'm working, so I have that extra hold. And then I'll use my toothbrush on the sides to really make sure the sides are smooth and any bonds from the extensions are concealed. And then I'll just take out these pieces in the front and we can do some face framing. I'll use a little bit more texture spray in the front to get a lot of volume around the face. And then I can kind of shape this hair. Sometimes I like to put a few pieces behind the ears. So whenever I'm doing face framing, you always want to think about where the bend is around the face so that it really frames your client's features. So I always, if I'm doing a larger bend like this, I'm opening it up around the cheekbone. Sometimes if I want to see more of a wave around the front, I'll open it up around the eye and then make sure that the next bend curves in towards the lips. So always use the facial features as a guide. All right, this is the final look. Thank you guys so much for watching.